All right, good evening. This is Dan Miller for EDU 750, our final project, dealing with kind of a conglomeration of the consolidation problem, addressing the issue in the four frames outlined by Bowman and Deal as it pertains to reframing organizations, in addition to kind of tying our own spin on it as it pertains to our dissertation topic. So, one quote that was in the text that really stood out to me was as follows: Sit no longer at your dusty window. I urge you to break the gaze from your oh so cherished glass. So I took that from a page in the intro part of the text, and I really think that that speaks volumes to the impact that some of these frames have had with my perception as far as how to handle a number of issues, whether you're an assistant principal, which is what I currently serve as, building level administrator, district administrator, excuse me, whatever the case may be. I think it's important to consider different perspectives, looking at things from a different lens, especially with the different challenges that we face in 2022 in our current roles. So, as a review with the consolidation problem, Hillsdale School District, Wolf School District, and Patrick School District have all been ordered to merge together. Really, it's kind of a rare problem, I would say, but not impossible. Largely there's a lot of school districts, not just rural ones, that face a number of different financial burdens. And so this was the major driving force behind the consolidation itself, and even more so, they're working with the short window, and so these results had to have been expedited. So a number of challenges and difficulties were going to be faced along the way. Some of those just listed there, from leadership all the way from Board of Education to building leaders, district leaders, staffing the buildings, redistricting boundaries, and then ultimately what it comes back to, which is what we all aim to do in our daily lives, is serving these students effectively. So when we look at the structural frame, which is the first of the four, I like to word it as this is the foundation, right? The structure. We've got to figure out how to get organized. We've got to figure out structuring, restructuring, shuffling around how best to organize our groups and maximize their efficiency to the best of our ability. And with that goes hand in hand, I feel like, the importance of our skilled leaders. I mean, you can't just appoint anybody um, in these positions in a situation like this. You want to have a well-established Board of Education, a well-established superintendent, in addition to the superintendent's cabinet and your building leaders. So with this, I think there's a key philosophy of fit, right? I mean, you can have a number of different experiences and done everything under the sun, but if you don't fit in that, whether it's an urban environment, whether it's a rural environment, if you don't have that fit, that may not be the formula for success for that given district. So we've got to match individuals to teams, and we've got to get them to work together effectively. So how does the the structural frame spill over into the human resources frame? It comes back to the people. So kind of based off of what I said with the fit, you've got to get the right people on the bus, and in the right seats on the bus. There's a football coach, University of Minnesota. His name's PJ Fleck, and his philosophy is row the boat. Right? You get the right people on the boat, and then you've got to row the boat, and then you got to row the boat in the right direction. So I think that all kind of factors into this philosophy here. So one other thing I wanted to point out is it's not just your staff. This also includes students, parents, and stakeholders, because ultimately it does take a village in this situation. So other key components of this is the HR strategy. Build and implement an effective HR strategy, hire the right people, retain good people, invest in your staff, which I feel is very, very crucial. Empower your staff, and then also promote diversity within the staff. I did find a quote as well that I thought was important to include. When individuals find satisfaction and meaning in work, organizations profit from the effective use of their talent and energy. Again, which I feel speaks volumes about any and all successful organizations. So then we transition to the political frame. So again, um, what goes hand in hand with politics is power. And I think that there's a negative connotation with that, which I'll kind of share that quote here in a second. But authority itself, you get the right people on the boat, so to speak, or on the bus, or whatever metaphor you want to use there. Um, People and authority is really only one form of power. You could also tie in influence. You could tie in a number of different characteristics and categorizations there. But I feel like it's important to address, sure. But the human resources frame and the political frame, there's some spillover there as well. So in the text, we have to stop describing power always in negative terms, as in it excludes, it represses. In fact, power produces, and it produces reality. So I think that was important to include. Another piece is balance, right? Um, people have to have balance. You can't give an entire authoritative decisions to a school board or to building level administrators or staff for that matter, that it truly is a collaborative sort of thing. So power is influence, sure. But I think that in school districts, we've got to focus on the good there and not necessarily tie a negative thought to it. Last thing here with the symbolic frame, this is more of a make it or break it, is what I outlined in my paper. Um, and what it comes back to is your legacy. I mean, how do I want to be remembered, me as an individual, but also how does my building, how does my district want to be remembered? Because ultimately, we know in school districts and communities, it's generational, right? And I speak for my own community here, but I know that this isn't uncommon. That I have students and I have coworkers whose parents went to school here and came through the system, and their parents went to school here and came through the system. So how are they going to want to be remembered? There's emotional connections with that. There's passion and personality. There's beliefs. There's value. There's purpose, and people put a lot of stock into that. So the symbolic frame is also very important, all equally important across the board, each with their own interesting twist on things. So how does my potential dissertation topic, tie into this with real world learning? Just to give you the condensed version, real world learning is based on career and college readiness, project based and hands on learning, client centered projects, student internships, tiered diploma system. This is in partnership with the Kauffman Foundation out of the Kansas City area. There's a number of school districts that are on board and participating within this. It's a great thing. There's been a lot of planning and a lot of onboarding and buy-in that's had to take place across the board. But when you think about a hypothetical situation of school district consolidation, let's say, for example, Hillsdale had accepted this and Patrick and Wolf are now absorbed into that, and now they've got to adopt this idea. That's certainly going to present its own challenges. And honestly, I think there would be a number of challenges, but if we have to pinpoint the big ones here, the first one would be buy-in. How are we going to get these teachers, these newer teachers or staff members, to adopt something that's brand new and in a short amount of time? So part of that is the curricular shifts, and that could be K-12 or just with the focus of 6 through 12 as we phase it in. How are we going to change teaching? How are we going to change learning for the good as it aligns with real world learning? I think it goes without saying that philosophical shifts are in there as well, as public education as itself is changing. So just some other things here. You've got to consider the availability of resources, especially financial, as this relates to consolidation of districts for that very reason. And then, as I mentioned, the timing there as well. You've got to come up with a plan. It's got to be formalized. You've got to phase it in, as these changes are not going to happen overnight. So in conclusion, consolidation of Hillsdale, Patrick, and Wolf school districts is a heavy lift for all those involved. With a short time frame to work with, any and all measures are bound to be questioned and criticized. be quite honest, such a scenario is not only rare, but unlikely given the circumstances. What's most important is to establish a new Board of Education with the sole superintendent. Having this foundation in place is step one in a lengthy process of working out any and all kinks with the new, larger Hillsdale School District. So, thank you very much.